Good morning, Dan and Amy, and we're coming to you live this morning from Signature Bank at their headquarters in Rosemont, kicking off our Business Boost promotion, which we'll talk about again in a bit. But now it's time to talk about K-12 education and critical race theory. Michael Rivera is a parent in Loudoun County, Virginia. Let's go back to Loudoun County, Virginia. I love that this has become ground zero for this fight. Because both sides are digging in.
Yeah, and for everything. First for COVID, now for critical race theory.
This is important because it's presenting both sides together. And so people can watch this play out, hear the arguments and the quality of the intellect behind those arguments, and make their own decision in terms of who is standing in a sensible place and who isn't. There's not enough debates like this in this country right now. So it's great to have this play out the way that it is. Michael Rivera. I like to stay home. I don't necessarily like to spend my time at school board meetings, but we have to do it. He has 2 children in the school. They happen to be biracial. He's a Latino gentleman. He married a white chick. His daughter has special needs. I don't subscribe to identity politics, says Mr. Rivera, but since I married a wonderful woman who happens to be white, my son is white, my daughter tends to favor her Hispanic heritage. According to critical race theory, my son should have white guilt and white privilege simply because of the color of his skin. And Mr. Rivera isn't having it. He's not having it. And more parents getting hip to what's been going on in K-12 education for some time aren't having it either. One of them is Quisha King. She's down in Duval County, Florida. She recently addressed the Florida State Board of Education before they made their decision on critical race theory. Here's what Ms. King had to say.
Good morning. Thank you for having me speak. My name is Quisha King. I'm a mom of 2, one who's in the Duval County public school system and one in private school thanks to school choice. I'm also a member of Moms for Liberty, representing thousands of parents. Just coming off of May 31st, marking the 100 years of the Tulsa riots, it is sad that we are even contemplating something like critical race theory, where children will be separated by their skin color and deemed permanently oppressors or oppressed in 2021. That is not teaching the truth, unless you believe that whites are better than blacks. I have personally heard teachers teaching CRT, and we have had an assembly shut down because Duval County Public School System consultant thought it would be a great idea to separate students by race. This is unacceptable. CRT is not racial sensitivity or simply teaching unfavorable American history or teaching Jim Crow history. CRT is deeper and more dangerous than that. CRT, in its outworking today, is a teaching that there is a hierarchy in society where white, male, heterosexual, able-bodied people are deemed the oppressor, and anyone else outside of that status is oppressed. That's why we see corporations like Coca-Cola asking their employees to be less white, which is ridiculous. I don't know about you, but telling my child or any child that they are in a permanent oppressed status in America because they are black is racist, and saying that white people are automatically above me, my children, or any child is racist as well. This is not something that we can stand for in our country. And don't take it from me, look at the writers of these types of publications. Our ancestors, white, black, and others hung, bled, and died right alongside each other to push America towards that more perfect union. If this continues, we will look back and be responsible for the dismantling of the greatest country in the world by reverting to teaching hate and that race is a determining factor on where your destiny lies. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, that deserves a round of applause, I'd say. For more, we're pleased to be joined by Quisha King, member of Moms for Liberty and mother of 2 down there in Florida. Quisha, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that was a well-received speech, as well as it should have been, and ultimately you won the day, and to those who believe, like you do and we do, which is a critical race theory is not going to be a part of curriculum in the state of Florida.
Yes, we had a victory. It was banned. We just have to make sure that we keep our eye on the school board because I believe that they will try to find ways to incorporate it in the curriculum.
By how? What do you mean?
So I don't want to speak too much on it until I see the actual curriculum the official curriculum coming out, but what they've been doing all along is that it hasn't been official curriculum. What they've been doing is weaving it into the curriculum, that's on the books that they are already going to be teaching. So to me, it becomes a question of how do we monitor and make sure that they're not teaching this to our children.
And I like the way that you came at it too, because I think that's the right way. The idea that what you're teaching is that whites are superior to blacks. What you're teaching is that the black man or woman can not do anything in this country without the white man. And what kind of sense does that make? How is that empowering for black Americans?
Right. It's insulting. It's saying flat out that we cannot do anything else, just like you said, unless it's sanctioned by a white male, or it's ridiculous and it's insulting. I don't understand why that's hard to understand.
How did you receive it when Joe Biden said, the problem that black Americans have in terms of starting businesses and so forth is they can't find an accountant or a lawyer?
I was just insulted at hearing that I'm approved by a white person to know that I'm not oppressed in society. He has constantly said things that are demoralizing and puts black people less than other people in this country. We have documented history of saying flat out racist statements.
Yeah. And what made you decide, what was your breaking point to make you decide to go in front of the school board? Because that takes a lot of courage.
I've been speaking about this throughout the last couple of weeks at our school board meetings, and I've just had it. I have had it with these officials, pushing this stuff on our children. It seems they are relentless. They don't have any way of letting up. And it's time that we vote them out. It's time that more parents start speaking up and paying attention to what and pushed upon our children. And it's not just for Black, Hispanics, and, I guess what we call others. It's a white all have to stand up and come against this.
You mentioned in your remarks to the State Board of Education down there in Florida that one of your kids is in private school thanks to school choice. How much of a game changer has school choice been for your family as well as, your perspective on Florida in general?
Oh, my gosh. It has been tremendous. My youngest daughter is a special needs child. She's a wonderful little human being, and we were really struggling with her in public school. And I searched and searched, went through tons of meetings, fought back and forth with the district about what they were telling her that, the types of courses that she needed to take that weren't really benefiting her. And I was blessed to live here in Florida where we do have school choice. The moment I got, the opportunity to put her on that waiting list for this wonderful private school, I did. And she got in there and she has thrived. She did not speak out loud when she was in public school. She spoke in a whisper on her very first day at this private school. So that just goes to show you what a transformation this has been to our family.
And what kind of support have you been getting from your community? Were people pleased by what you did? Did you get any pushback from anyone?
Surprisingly, yes, you do get pushback, but I was very surprised that in the Black community, I got emails and messages on Facebook and people saying, good job, from people that I, probably would not have thought agreed with me. So it's been both, sides agreeing and not agreeing, but I do see a lot of people agreeing.
We've having this discussion. We've had this discussion before. I'd like to get your take on it. So, I'm definitely on board with everything that you said and where you're coming from. But the banning of critical race theory, I don't want to get into the banning of things when it comes to this sort of poison, intellectual poison. I want to take this stuff on straight away. So my perspective is to say, oh, you want to teach critical race theory? You want the kids to read White Fragility? You want them to read How to Be an Anti-Racist? No problem. But they're also going to have to read John McWhorter, and they're also going to have to read Shelby Steele. And those views are going to be brought into this as well, because I want John McWhorter and Shelby Steele to do intellectual battle with Ibram Kendi and Robin DiAngelo. You know what I'm saying? I want to defeat them. I don't want to drive them underground and, like you were saying, for them to find a way to insinuate themselves in other classes and not be part of the formal curriculum. I want the battle to be in the center of the ring, and let's hash it out.
You know, I love that perspective, and I want children to be able to see, you know, different perspectives on all things as well. I just would caution, because the schools and the teachers unions and these school board members, they are so fixated on this one-sided view that I just don't honestly trust them to bring in other sides of the argument. I just don't trust them to do it. So at this point, you know, because our children are so vulnerable, you know, their minds are so moldable, if we have to ban it to save the children, for, you know, just canceling people and banning things. And I understand exactly what you're saying. I just, you know, but I don't want to risk my kid or anybody's child, you know, being just pushed upon them, and they grow up believing that, you know, that they are in a state of oppression that they can't escape.
Right. I mean, I understand. I understand the need to have a sense of urgency about this, because your kids are in school right now, and you want that education to be something that reflects their values. No, I get that too. I don't think it's an easy call. You're a member of this group called Moms for Liberty, just because, you know, here in Chicagoland, a lot of people are beaten down. There's some pushback happening. But I wonder how your group formed, just as maybe an example for how other groups can form similarly in districts here where we are in Chicagoland and frankly, around the country.
Yes, so it was started by a few moms, one of them being Tina Deskovich, and they just, you know, same thing. They got tired of all of the policies that these superintendents were forcing upon our children, and so they started a group of just parents who were sick and tired of the overreach, especially with the masking and the, you know, the critical race theory, and, you know, just overreaching of teaching, you know, things about sexual orientation that some of these children are just too young, you know, to be worried about those kinds of things. And they were tired, and so they started this wonderful group, Moms for Liberty, and people can check us out at momsforliberty.org. And they got together and started fighting back, and now we have chapters all over the nation.
All right, it's time for Moms for Liberty chapter in Lakeview, Amy, and some other places around Chicagoland. She is Quisha King, member of Moms for Liberty, as she was describing, mother of two down there in Florida. Quisha, congratulations. Best of luck and continued success for your kids and Moms for Liberty down in Duval County. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
The Lou Dobbs Financial Report is brought to you by Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Visit signaturebank.bank for your commercial banking needs.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Midwest mall operator files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Car owners are keeping their vehicles longer. GM will roll out 2 more electric battery plants. Those stories next.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied.